So when we first arrived in Nicaragua, the atmosphere was like really crazy. Like everyone met us with smiles and they were all so friendly.
The first place that we visited when we arrived in Nicaragua was Casa Canadiense. For our first few days in Nicaragua, Casa Canadiense was our home. While we were all anxiously waiting to meet our families in Santa Julia, we got to see many beautiful sights in the capital city, Managua. One of the most beautiful places that we got to visit was the active volcano called the Messiah. Another place that we visited was a city called Granada. Its colorful streets, rich history, and beautiful coasts make Granada a go-to place for tourists. One of the places we visited was Café de las Sonrisas, which means Cafe of Smiles. This cafe is unlike any you have ever seen before. The owner, Antonio, created the cafe to give jobs to people who are deaf and mute. Along with the cafe, Antonio also runs a hammock shop that sells beautiful handmade hammocks, purses, and so much more. Over here.
The buildings in Old Managua that sort of survived the earthquake in 1972. However, it is then this building here, La Casa de los Pueblos, before that used to be...
After a few days exploring the city, it was time to go to Santa Julia to meet our families.
It is a pleasure to have all of you here. She hopes that you fell in love with this community and especially our Gallo Pinto rice and beans.
When we arrived to Santa Julia, we were welcomed with open arms and open hearts. After that moment, we were no longer strangers, but we became a part of the community. Santa Julia is a small rural community that is about an hour from Managua. Over 10 years ago, a group of women from the community created a women's cooperative that now has 16 members. Donna Lola, one of the leaders of the women's cooperative, showed us around her farm. Along with other members of the community, we helped dig out trenches on Donna Lola's farm so that during the rainy seasons, the crop would be watered evenly. We learned a lot from Donna Lola, and you couldn't complain about the work because the view is incredible. We took a full day to learn the ins and outs of the coffee production firsthand. To start, you have to pick the bean off of the tree. The next step is to sort the beans. Once the beans have been separated, it's time to skin them.
So you can peel it with your hands, but it takes a lot more time. Entonces lo hacemos con la máquina. So they do it with coming out the other side there.
When you peel the beans, the skins stay in the same basket, so you have to separate them. Once you have the skinned beans, it's time to roast them.
Yeah, try to kind of like observe which beans are you moving. So we can move it on.
While we were in Santa Julia, we had a project. With the help of many different organizations, Santa Julia has raised enough money so that they could build a well. This well is important to the whole community because they don't have running water. While we were there, we helped build the building that would hold the engine to power the well. The whole community works together and they work very hard. Women, children, and men of all ages work together. It was interesting to learn the different techniques that they use to mix cement and to lay bricks. Although our help probably slowed down the process, it was great to learn from the people there, and they were so willing to help. Days of working and learning with the people in the community, our final day there had come. None of us were ready to go home, but we knew that it was coming sooner than later. We spent the evening having a fiesta. We danced, sang, had piñatas, and ate great food, and had a wonderful evening as our last night there.
The funny thing about perspective is that we all have it, yet none of us do. We go through our daily routines without really giving a second thought to what we're doing. We face our own struggles. And although our weekly NSAP meetings definitely prepared me for some things, my change in how I view the world was something I was not ready for. Even as we stepped off the plane in Managua, I had no idea what kind of bonds I would make with the people of Santa Julia, or what their stories would be. Before we went on this trip, I wasted a lot of water. However, after realizing that I could take a shower there with just one bucket of water, as they do, my perspective on how much I actually need has changed a lot. Even for little things like washing dishes, I am more conscious now of the quantity of water that is needed than I have ever been. In Nicaragua, compared to Canada, their living conditions are completely different, and it has opened my eyes to what ecologists have been telling us for years. And that is, just because we don't see results at home, doesn't mean that the results aren't there. Water is not the only thing I see differently. The houses, the medical systems, the school system, it's also different in Nicaragua than it is here in Canada. My kitchen here is the same size as an entire house there. The clinics are more sanitary here, and the school is something that most kids complete, whereas in Nicaragua, most kids stop going because they need to help at home or they need to work. We become so used to our cultural norm that we often forget that it is not the same for most countries. We grew up with fresh water anytime we wanted, which is only now becoming a reality in Santa Julia. Our perspective was easy, theirs more difficult than we were prepared for. Whether it is water or healthcare or education or really anything else, everyone has their own perspective, but we can't truly understand other views if we don't experience it ourselves. Going to Nicaragua gave me a peek at a life I never had. It gave me a little sister, a second mom, and an appreciation for home that I never had before.